So I'm just gonna not release, but record what I have, because I figure any progress is better than, well, not all the time, but any progress is better than no progress. Most of the time, I believe, as we get Yogatag scars. But as always, we're sticking on this train. If there was a season to a series, or this series on this channel, we would be nearing the finale. But yeah, I have to finish everything up first. So basically, did some tweaking number-wise, but otherwise, other than that, I forgot. Oh, scars. Other than that, you'll see as I show you things later on. So, as we get into Yogatag scars, random item stats, custom character. Again, tweaks and also adding images. I think one of them was this skill, which I think I actually made the background separate this time. Also changed it from, 4 stamina, but the large part is that where you're able to one-shot enemies with handcuff tech, so that's just the short, and that's just the short of it. Strength, Takushisan, Dexterity, Second Counter, Knowledge, and maybe Charisma. And if you don't know what I mean, as we get almost every single stat check at the lighthouse, the previous episode relative to this episode will let you know. I think it was a 0.5 episode too. So I'm losing my mind, because I do feel that I did think I got. I feel something coming on. Basically, I'm recording now because I fear I may be sick in the next coming day or so, and then will therefore be sick for the next few days. Festival, Kana, Scissors, Hiruko, and Recluse. So we're gonna do Kana, and then pretty much 2 boss mysteries. Theoretically speaking, timelines, a little bit Scissors timeline B. I'm not even sick yet, but timeline. Scissors Timeline B is, there's no boss to fight, but you might as well be fighting a boss, because you can take just as much damage, usually less in the case of Harbinger difficulty, but you'll end up taking damage as if you were fighting a boss anyway, especially with a character that can do this. So in the reverse way, I was going to mention something, now I forgot, hopefully I remember, but immediately what I wanted to say is that if you're a more combat-oriented character, I didn't forget what I was going to say here, then Timeline B can deal more damage, because you're not likely to you would likely have 2-shot the Scissor Lady. But as I do this here, and so therefore you'd only be taking -3 all damage, and then if you guess wrong in Timeline B, you can take -2 all damage, sure, usually on average. I don't remember the exact numbers. I went over these numbers at some point in my World of Horror playing time, and I forgot. So all you need to know is that, yeah, you'll take less damage still, probably, even if you are a combat-oriented character, unless you just one-shot the Scissor Lady on Timeline A. But basically, usually you're taking less damage, especially with Kana at our size, and Kana at our side, and being in Scar's backstory. That's all I'm trying to say. Actually, so with all of that said, let me rewind my statement. Unless you're one-shotting the Scissor Lady, you're usually going to take more damage in Timeline A than in Timeline B. Because in Timeline B, you could get the other 3 parts right, because you already know the first 2 if you look at the diary. If you're just guessing on all 5 steps for whatever reason, maybe you're doing a speed run, then yeah, okay, you will likely take more damage for a combat-oriented character like this character with the axe and the skill, or Aiko, or Haru, or Ayaka with like 5+ curses. You get the point. And if you don't, just know that every character I just listed is very, very good at fighting enemies, usually. Some more than others, but you get the point. I don't want to enter Scissors. Oh, there's Recluse as well. I can one-shot Recluse. I can also one-shot Scissors. The problem is I need a rest, because, as I've always mentioned, even though I switched this so it doesn't feel like much of a balance change yet, but Kana and Scars are kind of muddying the waters there. It's the fact that we deal so much damage. And for immersive reasons, I wanted the skill to do more damage than, or do just as much damage as the attack, basically. That being said, if I'm thinking gameplay-wise, I mean, using a skill is a free action, so I really should tone down the damage. But I'll see if I do. Again, this all go. I didn't want to keep talking about it, but it's relevant because it is making the game easier for fighting enemies. Is that I also forgot to rest. I could have died there. Yeah, the counterpoint to sum it all up is that not a lot of people are doing handcuff tech. So, shrug. Which actually gets me quite interested, even though I'm still talking about it, but specifically handcuff tech here. I wonder how that goes. I assume with the power to point and click. Oh wait, no, you can't point and click. I'm going crazy. Can you point and click on this? Basically on, I don't know about the console version. I'm sure, actually, in my opinion, button presses would be easier. Do I want to do this, by the way? I'm gonna go for it. So, yeah, so I don't know what happens on console versions of World of Horror. I assume that it's possible, but maybe there are too many button presses that you need to do to get to, say, throw item or use a spell to reliably basically do handcuff tech. By the way, so there's the I'm not done with this. I was supposed to add a figure basically right around here on the graphic, but I wasn't happy with how I made it. So this is basically the background I'm working with. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, I'm not doing anything fancy. This is literally the half-open graphic touched up to my needs, so shrug. But as we fight this here, actually, we can Desperate. Yeah, again, gameplay-wise, considering I can do this, I feel a little loud. Tell me if I'm being my microphone is too loud. But yeah, considering I can do Desperate regular attack, but again, I've yet to release this publicly, even though I should be able to think past all of the variables that exist in game. I mean, again, I'm not surprised. This is a very powerful tactic to use. We can't take on our own because we have Kana with us. Kana still provide. I think Kana does provide more than on your own, in my opinion, at least. But anywho, that was. I think that's pretty much all the changes that I made, aside from So the graphic on the skill, the graphic and the mystery, and then I'm trying to mess with the gameplay value of the skill. Also, we still have 3 reason, but since I one-shot Recluse, we can take Scissors. I mean, on a separate note, I didn't mean to open that. Honestly, I think it's been a long time since I've slipped on my button presses there, but yeah, in a more, I'm interested in the balance note is that as we get timeline B here, bow for claps, is that one-shotting certain enemies while not being able to one-shot others that are tanky is kind of interesting. Oh my goodness gracious. We rolled a 12 as well. I'll do another run. But yeah, it's yeah, one-shotting Recluse but not being able to one-shot tanky enemies basically is quite interesting. Did we literally just get Yogatak Scars again with random? I think we got the exact same everything, literally. I don't know if I saw random item stats, but I'll set random item stats just for the funnies, if nothing else. But yeah, off we go. Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised that happened. So let's equip this axe again and move on with our lives. The other side of it, I was looking into Blood Frenzy. I don't know why Blood Frenzy is not proccing twice. I thought Blood Frenzy does stack. All things considered, though, if for some reason it does stack in the next update with this configuration, and assuming the Perm plugin works, I guess we'll find out. Dexterity, second mystery, Atachi-san, light, second encounter, every single non-stat check, and maybe a charisma check. But off we go. So what I wanted to talk about as well is, I forgot. God, I had it on my mind, and I always forget like this. It's painful being me with a brain. But yeah, we'll talk about it. If I remember it, I'll talk about it. But we get Recluse and then Flood this time. So no Kana or Scissors, but definitely other boss fights I need to worry about. But just to kind of prove the point, we'll go into Recluse. I think I wanted to talk about something that was custom content related. I don't remember at the moment. It was kind of important too, so or something I wanted to talk about at least. But anywho, let's move on with our lives. So if nothing else, your base World of Horror tip for the day. Oh, I wanted to talk about handcuff tech on other platforms aside from PC. But let's get through what I wanted to say first. I think I just forgot. Never mind. Okay, fine. We'll talk about what I forgot about earlier. Oh, no. Your base World of Horror tip is that, yeah, just take Doom increases during Recluse because you're not using a lot. Your Doom is not increasing by a lot during Recluse anyway. Anyway, back to the point I forgot. So, yeah, I wondered how handcuff tech works out on other platforms. Steam Deck can you point and click with Steam Deck? Because theoretically speaking, you're using the mouse as a controller. The reason why I kind of flabbergasted myself, because I was like, oh no, wait, you're using another control for that, because you're not actually pointing and clicking with a, a thing, well, with your real life finger. But I realized that was strange to think about for PC anyway, but it's fine, I guess. Oh no, we have to. So the thing about this, okay, one little, not neat detail, but I'm trying to think of the word. One little nuance here is that I can't use cranial fracture and then attack the enemy. I have to defeat the enemy with cranial fracture because the skill checks to see if, basically, I tried to check to see if the enemy was defeated. There's no exact boolean for that. This is not criticism, by the way. That's just it's what I'm working with what I've got, and I think it's very, very good. That being said, it sounds like I'm always macking on the perm plugin or custom content capabilities in World of Horror. Let me tell you that's not true. So, what I was trying to say is that cranial fracture, if you... I should have showed you the... Actually, you know what? Let's show the code snippet now, because we're not doing anything else with our lives. Actually, I need to open this thing, so let me show you really quickly. This is a perm video. I might as well show you perm things going on. But, if I can do this correctly without blasting OBS in the face with something, let us see here. So, let us... I think I'll just copy the full line. The whole line is cast prizes, but... if I were to show you, and it's going to look like a big thing, I'm not going to really separate it, but I'll highlight it at least. So if I show you this right here, oh my goodness, my body, please OBS, cooperate, and by OBS I mean me, but oh my goodness, hold on, oh my goodness, this is what I get for not cutting footage. But let's see here. So oh my goodness, I will get it working, I swear. Okay, fine, this is the best I can do. So, if I show you the code snippet right here, I'll just highlight. I was trying to figure out how I wanted to highlight things, but essentially we're doing this check here. There's probably a more sophisticated way to do it, but this is the primary line of code, and by that, I'll just isolate it just so you can show you. So we're checking if the enemy health drops below 1. I think this doesn't include 1 HP. I'm going crazy, though. I could probably look for it, but you get the point. Basically, when the enemy has 0 or less HP, basically, after using this skill, do a check. And if so, basically the enemy is defeated, and their stamina drops to 4. I think the one bug I can think of is what happens when you're in... What happens when you're in Recluse and you use this against the boss? I'm assuming what happens is this is bugged, technically, but since there's no way to check if enemy is defeated, again, this is not criticism. I'm not trying to push for things that only I want added in the perm plugin or custom World of Horror content, but you get the point. This is the only way I can check. And so, and again, it's up to the player to use this. Theoretically speaking, this would be a bug, but, literally speaking, this would be a bug, but, I mean, you can always just make house rules not to do it in those cases, because, I mean, we have pseudo infinites of World of Horror. That's not an excuse, but, again, there's no other way to check aside from, I don't know, I guess, and when in back combat, I guess, because we have is combat, but I haven't checked that yet. I guess, basically, this is, for any veterans of custom content, or the perm plugin specifically, does is combat, the is combat syntax include right when an enemy is defeated? Because I assume there might be a distinction between when you're in battle and when you hear the click-cling and then you win, basically. If after that moment you're not in combat, theoretically speaking, you could say is combat, and then I could turn this into a false statement. So I would do everything in the false part of this. And this do nothing doesn't actually do anything, by the way, but I assume that it'll be kept in a way that basically if you do something in the perm plug, I could even put in something like that and it'll probably do nothing, but you get the point. I could make it false, so because you're no longer in combat after defeating the enemy. Or you could do a double if check, basically, where you check is combat and then the enemy's HP equals 0, although it's a little worrying to think about, because theoretically there'd be bugs if after you win in combat, the enemy's health no longer can be red, basically, if that makes any sense. Anyway, that's enough programmer nerd talk. I will go back to the game. So that's all I really wanted to show you, just to basically, if nothing else, the inner workings of that and how you heal stamina. We are checking if the enemy's health hits 0, and if it has, recover 4 stamina. That's my, I guess you can call it the band-aid fix, to see if the enemy hits 0 HP, or enemy is defeated, sorry. But yeah, again, I think it's, you know, it's not sophisticated, but it'll serve its purpose. And again, the only bugs I can think of are enemies, because for the boss of Flood, the second enemy, actually we have Flood right here, so you know what, we could test this out now. I don't know why I didn't think about it earlier, but I also can show you that at least in this version of the perm plugin, I was actually supposed to like do improvise there, but it's fine. That you can target enemy B. I don't know if this is on public yet, but we'll find out, because yeah, I'm testing things basically. I don't know if I think it's fine. Am I going crazy? I'm going crazy. Anywho, let's move on with life. So without further ado, and if anything's wrong, please let me know. I will do what I can, make corrections. correct myself in the next video, or just take this video down if anything weird happens. Again, please let me know. I have several things. I have a business email. I have Discord. Although my business, and it's more for business related things, so Discord stuff, if you DM me, yeah, as long as you're not a robot. Also, I should not be investigating this forest, but I think it's fine. For the purpose of the bug I'm trying to work with, it should be fine. I'm just gonna grab this researcher. At this point, we're kind of just all in, so off we go. And we're gonna rest, and then let's test this out. So, let's find out. Actually, this is perfect, because I'll be losing stamina while I'm doing this, so let's find out. So, we're gonna hit this enemy. We're gonna hit enemy A, because if you don't know Flood, let's explain it really quickly. If not for no other reason than to put everything out there. So in the boss of Flood, enemy B, or the worshippers, will recover Chitura's or the boss's health by 1 every turn. Basically, when you get attacked, they'll heal as long as they're alive. So or as long as they're active in the battle, which means you haven't depleted their HP to 0, because you don't really kill the followers, I don't think. But if we do this here, will I heal HP? I will, but the enemy heals because you're not defeated. And if I keep doing this, actually, if I switch back to 1 here, you'll see that I essentially healed again. So this is technically a bug because we don't have a way to detect if an enemy's been defeated, but this is a very special case. This is the only case, I think, where the battle will go on after an enemy recovers, because other examples include vampire type enemies, which can heal, but by the time you put their HP to 0, the battle's over. So this isn't just for the perm plugin, by the way. This applies to anything that may come later on in World of Horror, which may or may not happen based on the next update, which is I don't know when it's coming. We get the announcement sometime this month apparently, but aside from that, again, here's the bug basically. And if I do this again, oops, if I do it again, sorry, now I just hurt myself. We do defeat the enemy, but again, there's no way to really check. Again, this is a very, very niche problem that only affects me at the moment, so I wouldn't really say that this is something that needs, like, any kind of consideration. Again, it's just something that I thought of, and I'm glad I tested it now. So, yeah, into Battlefields we go, but, not Battlefield, ooh, here we go. This mystery, yes, was made off from Battlefields, but we're here now. And the mystery is what it is. So hey, but yeah, it's good to test that out because that is a bug, just straight up. So until I figure out something else, we can leave it. Again, it really only affects that one. Theoretically speaking, you have infinite stamina healing because as long as you let that enemy survive, you could probably just like improvise and use the skill or spell. And then a really quick band-aid fix would just be to like increase Doom by 1 or something. But I guess what I could do, I wonder, there's something more sophisticated I could do. That is still a band-aid fix. And so when I say band-aid fix, I mean it's not really a sophisticated way of solving the problem, is what I'm trying to say. And by that I mean it's not a very thorough way to solve the problem. But what I'm thinking of is I wonder if I can do another scan of the enemy's HP again and see if no, because then the game would check if you do a thing. By the way, let's rewind a bit and actually, or step back from the forest to explain that for those who, if this is your first World of Horror video for whatever reason, or one of your first World of Horror videos, just know that at this current moment in base World of Horror, if you're playing on 1.01 without the perm plugin, you are not able to use spells against enemy B. You cannot throw items against enemy B. Actually, can you throw items against enemy B? But you get the point. And you can't use the fire action on enemy B. It's not like a priority high bug, but it's certainly a significant bug in my opinion, if that makes any sense. So yeah, but in the perm plugin, I don't know if it's released on public yet, but and again, just in case anyone has any ideas, I'm not related to the creation of the perm plugin. I'm just someone who plays with it. So that might sound confusing, but I swear I'm just making sure everything's okay. So that's why I said if anything's wrong with this, what I'm doing right now, then just please feel free to let me know. I haven't done anything untoward, that I know for sure. So, and if someone feels offended by something, like, feel free to talk to me and we'll explain it out. But otherwise, yeah, in base World of Horror, you cannot target enemy B, which is it's not a huge bug, but it's certainly a bug that probably should be fixed. It takes higher priority over other things. Now, does it take higher priority over things like, hey, the item bug, where if you throw an item of which you have the same item equipped, your item inventory bugs out? No. Does it take priority over when you level up and you can accidentally click things behind your level up screen? No. Those are the two examples of bugs that actually would probably take more priority than little, well, actually they would be on the same priority level in my opinion, but torn muscle, by the way. But you get the point. There are bugs on Roll of Horror. It's not a game breaker, and it's long, and because it doesn't crash the game, you know, I'm shrugging in real life as I say, Roll of Horror is actually, you know, sufficiently well made for someone who I think the developer doesn't have too much developer coding experience, programming experience. That's all I have to say. And if that sounds insulting, I don't mean it to be. I generally do have respect for any game developer really that goes into game dev, and maybe they were like a composer in real, you know, not in real life. Their main line of their main experience comes from, you know, composing music or making art, so on and so forth. Right? You get what I'm trying to say. Which again, when I make a video game, I promise you I will take the full brunt of any criticism because again, I specifically, I think if I didn't already say it, I'll say it here. I did study and go big into computer programming. That being said, I will also recognize I'm not the best programmer, because if I was, I would be doing a lot more than game development. But I'd also want to do game development is something that's really near and dear to me, basically. But anyway, as I continue to handcuff tech all over these enemies. I mean, again, let me just also say this now. I think I've mentioned it before, but I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before, but basically, if the handcuff tech gets patched out, listen, it is going to hurt me Harbinger-wise, but it's not the end of the world. And by that I mean there are more than a few other strats or things to do in Harbinger that will help you survive. That being said, handcuff tech would be a huge hit. But also that would have to break, I guess, some foundations of the game, I guess, question mark? Because, again, there's nothing really... it is... I would call it a bug, all things considered, but... At the same time, there are no specific rules that state that you can't use throw items, use ally effects, send your ally against an enemy while the action sequence is being launched. So, if I were to be a bit tropey about it, it would kind of be working in between the lines or something like something to that effect. But you get the point. Like it's really interesting that. I would believe it was an oversight. I don't think something like that is purposely usually considered while you are making Roll of Horror specifically. And this is not a slight or any comment against the dev or anything. I forgot what my second mystery was, by the way. I think it was Flood. This is just literally, I mean, it happens to game developers. I've seen it more than a few times, but I can probably only name one specific example, and that would be from actually, as I say this, I realize I shouldn't say what I shouldn't be very specific here, but yes, it is a more adult RPG game, but it is a very gameplay focused RPG game. So that's what I mean by, I think what I'm thinking of is a very well made RPG game, but there are design decisions in that game. A specific example would be, it was this way, you say it. Would be basically the use of, let's just say, a certain item in the middle of battle that does not consider, I guess, the time and place, if that makes any sense. I'm still being kind of vague, but again, I don't want to be... In fact, I even used a separate example to kind of work around what I wanted to say. Again, I just want to be safe because robots have hurt me before, but if nothing else, yeah, you know what to do. If you have anything to say, questions, comments, concerns, criticism, yeah, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I just realized something, but it's fine. If I won't take up much more of your time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!